Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Seb Shirts YouTube channel.
Hello. Fancy seeing you here.
And today I've got a different sort of video. I'm not going to be reviewing any shirts, but I'm going to be talking about a topic that's been heavily on my noggin recently, and that is suddenly football shirts, to me anyway, seem to have got really popular. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I walk around town and all I see is people wearing football shirts, especially in the summer, constantly, whereas a few years ago and stuff, I really didn't see anyone. It was a very niche thing. I was personally probably the only person I know that collected football shirts. I've been collecting for about 5-6 years now. But before, I didn't really see anyone, and now everyone and their dog is now wearing football shirts, and this term bloke core is being knocked about and bandied about everywhere. And in today's video, I wanted to explore and give my thoughts on why I think football shirts have suddenly got more popular, and to try and get this thought out of my head, I'm going to record myself talking to myself and talking to you guys about why is this the case. I don't know if you guys are interested, but clearly you are. You've clicked on this video, so yes, let's get into it and talk about why these football shirts are suddenly so popular. I think the first topic to discuss is the fact that football is the most popular sport in the world, so the fact that people are wearing football shirts is no surprise, but I think the way people are wearing football shirts now have completely changed from when I was a kid. Usually people mainly wore football shirts when it was match day, if they were going to the ground to show support for their team and things like that, whereas now you see people just wearing them as casual fashion, even if you're going bowling, if you're going to cinema, just walking about every day. Even when you're going on holiday, it's just like, there was this funny video I saw on my Instagram reels of just different men wearing football shirts. It just seems that men just love wearing football shirts now, and women, I'm not sexist. Okay. But it seems very popular to be wearing these football shirts, and I think the first thing, especially when it comes to vintage football shirts, is nostalgia is playing a key role, and nostalgia plays a key role in our everyday lives anyway. Nostalgia can lead us to buy things that we wouldn't normally do, or do things to relive our youth. So the fact that I think as well that's playing into this is the disillusionment many people and me are facing in football these days is playing into this as well. I think a lot of people want to go back to a more simpler time before VAR, before all this FFP, before all this, back to the early 2000s and 90s and the 80s, when football was a lot simpler place. Now it's become into this it's devolved into something that it wasn't football when I was a kid. It's like every single thing is being analysed with intricate detail. So I think the fact that people were starting to buy and collect football shirts from when they were a kid, just to relive those memories of the times when football was simpler, I think is playing a key role into why people are now especially buying vintage football shirts. This is not necessarily the same as for modern football shirts, but for vintage football shirts in particular, especially if you look online, the prices for things from shirts from famous seasons like the Invincible season are really expensive, because people want memories of that time when their team were good. So I think nostalgia is a key reason why people are starting to buy and spend a lot of money on vintage football shirts, because they're not cheap, so there has to be a reason why people are buying them. And for me, I think it plays a role in why I collect football shirts as well, but not just for fashion reasons, not just because they look good, because I think it reminds people of simpler times. To play on further with this vintage idea, I think the whole football market, the whole clothing market in general, especially amongst younger people such as myself, is moving into more sustainable fashion, especially the rise of places like Shein, fast fashion. I think this is kind of a way of fighting back against that, considering just heaps and heaps of land wasted being filled with £2 tops from places like Primark and Shein and places of Boohoo, for example. So I think people are trying to find a better way to wear clothes, and at the end of the day, to me, is if you buy something used that's a branded, expensive brand, it's going to last longer than if you're just buying a t-shirt from Primark. And as football shirts are now moving into this space of bloke core, and whereas it's now fashionable to wear football shirts, so I think it's the same with you only collecting anything. Like a t-shirt will do the same as a football shirt, you just wear it for warmth or whatever. It's the same as when you're collecting a car. A person wants a Ferrari instead of a Nissan Micra. It's the same with football shirts. It's like a statement. If you've got a really nice vintage shirt, it makes you look good, it makes you feel good, and you want people to look at you, don't you? So the fact that you're not just buying a vintage item, which is fashionable at the moment, you're getting a football shirt. And really, if you look at Depop in 2021, 13 million people were using Depop. Most of these users were under 26, but this whole shift in the vintage space has really influenced football shirts as well. Because if you're going to buy vintage clothing, vintage sportswear in general is really popular at the moment, and football shirts are no different, and they just look good, let's be honest. So if you're going to buy something vintage, you might as well go for something unique like a football shirt. So yeah, to fight back against this insustainability of fashion, now people are looking a lot more at vintage stuff. Especially if you've seen charity shop prices at the moment, and the prices are only going up because people are paying for them at the end of the day. So the general broader consensus of moving over to vintage and sustainable fashion is having an influence on the football collecting scene, and yeah, I think that is playing a big role also. With any trend that goes on, they come and die, and who influences these trends the most? And no, it's not SpongeBob, it is actually celebrities. I don't know if you've noticed in recent, I think this was a couple of months ago, last month, and the thing with Kanye put up this picture of himself wearing a football shirt, and because he covered up the badge, people were investigating, getting their goggles on, pretending to be Sherlock Holmes and trying to find out what football shirt he was wearing. Just that alone, the reaction of people trying to find out what he was wearing, is enough evidence for me of how popular football shirts have gotten. The fact that people were struggling to find what shirt it was, they were picking up different. Some people thought it was a Chelsea shirt, some people thought it was a Spain shirt. It turned out to be a Portsmouth shirt, and now this Portsmouth shirt is on eBay, is going for thousands of pounds, when before it was just going for the standard £100-200 that standard vintage football shirts are going for. So the fact that influencers like that are having such influence on the market, that shirt is now worth thousands of pounds just because Kanye wore it. This for me is such a big indication that celebrities are having a great influence on this. Just Google celebrities wearing football shirts, there's mounds and mounds of it. Justin Bieber wore an Everton shirt a few years ago. This iconic picture of Drake really was the first memory of me really kickstarting football shirts into the mainstream, especially now the shirt's worth a lot of money because Drake wore it. It's become an iconic piece of fashion, not because Juventus were good, it's become iconic because Drake wore it. You cannot, even if this has no influence on you, you can't take away the fact that the influence it has on other people. Snoop Dogg has been wearing football shirts on stage for years, and then there's that PSG Thiago Silva song. I don't know, I don't listen to like rap music, but I've seen the clip online of him wearing a PSG Thiago Silva shirt. So you can't negate the influence that celebrities are having on football and fashion, especially the expansion of football into the United States. Football's now, you can't take away the influence the United States has on the rest of the world, especially in media, society, culture and things like that. A lot of influence on fashion comes from the States, and the fact that football is growing massive in the States at the moment is having an influence on that, because these are mostly American celebs that are doing this. So just Google it, you'll see so many celebs wearing these shirts, and if people see their favourite celeb wearing it, they're going to want to start doing it as well. So even if you don't like it, it's happening. I think with more modern shirts and vintage shirts, I think the fact that sites like DHgate exploding in popularity has really helped expand people's football shirts collections, because football shirts are getting more and more expensive the more popular they get, and especially because in a cost of living crisis, people are trying to find more affordable ways of collecting football shirts, and DHgate seems very, very appealing for a lot of people, because you can look at these older shirts, well, replicas of older shirts, and now you can buy this Kaká shirt for £25. Most of the time when I see football shirts out in public, it is these DHgate fakes, and it's kind of understandable in the current climate. You can start collecting football shirts, start getting cool looks from your mates, start repping that shirt you liked in FIFA 11, and for a fraction of the price. So I think the fact that DHgate are knocking out these fakes for affordable prices instead of these crappy cheap ones you get from Morocco or Turkey on holiday, fakes are getting better and better every day, which I think is also having a big impact on the football shirt space, because people can afford to buy, even though they're fake, can afford to buy their favourite shirts. So I don't think you can ever take away the impact that football shirts are having. Look at this article, it's from a few years ago, but there were estimated more people during, I think it was the Euros, or, well, I can't remember, look at it, I'll show you the article screen. I saw this a few years ago, but more people were estimated to be wearing fakes than real shirts, which is just crazy to me, because I personally wouldn't wear fakes. I can understand why people do it, but the fact that fakes are having this much of an impact on the market it has to be included in this discussion. I think also the fact that football is the most popular sport in the world, over 10 billion I think people watched the World Cup final. The Premier League is the biggest league in the world. It's the biggest sport in the world, so therefore people are going to start wearing kits from their favourite team, and not just their favourite team. Like even me, I'm a big Arsenal fan, but I collect shirts from other teams. I just think they look good. I think they make people feel good as well, so that has to be an influence as well, because if it was just sports in general, no one's walking around wearing tennis vests, Formula 1 vests. Some people like NFL jerseys, hockey jerseys, but by far the most popular one is football. And that's because football shirts are a lot more accessible than other teams. Because football's such a popular sport, football shirts are mass produced, so it's very easy to get hold of football shirts. Especially for modern shirts, this influence in the market is seen by teams are constantly releasing new shirts. Back in the day, it was not uncommon for teams to only have 2 shirts. Now it's really common for teams to release 4 or 5 shirts a year. I'm an Arsenal fan. Arsenal release, it seems like 15 different shirts a season. They're obviously not all match shirts, but they release so many. And I think PSG, I just see them as a fashion club at this point. With their connections to Jordan, they've released another 4th shirt this season, which is probably going to sell out. Napoli are quite famous for releasing about 12 shirts a year. They release Halloween shirts, they release Valentine's Day shirts, and these shirts are only getting released because people are buying them. So this is a clear indication of how popular football shirts are getting, that clubs can literally rinse people for money just by all of these shirts coming out. And then FOMO comes into play here, because people are going to want these. They see other people on Instagram or whatever have these shirts. They go, I need to get that shirt. It's limited release, especially with these limited release shirts, because the club will go, this is in limited batches. They sell out immediately, and then that FOMO kicks in and people want them. Because they're so popular at the moment, people are trying to get their hands on them, and if they release these limited edition ones, people are going to want to buy them. I've been a victim of this. Anytime Arsenal release a new shirt, I'm like, I need to buy it before I get hold of it. Like, for example, the human race shirts I've managed to pick up recently for cheaper, like £30, but they're completely sold out. A lot of people are spending £200-300 on these shirts, so the fact that people are reselling these on eBay is really big. So the fact that kit manufacturers are starting to release 4, 5, 6 shirts a year, to me is a huge indication. PSG are to blame for this, I think, but a huge indication of how the football shirt market is moving, and a desire and a need for football shirts. I think one last big point is the reseller market. I think the fact that a lot of people are realising how expensive shirts are has really increased the boom into them, because people are now just buying football shirts, not just to keep. I do it, they sell them as well. So the reseller market, how popular Depop, Vinted, eBay has become, especially with it, younger people, cannot be underestimated, because especially in like a cost of living crisis, people are trying to make extra money, so they can see how much they're getting for their older shirts from collectors such as myself. So I think the fact that people are just buying up these shirts, I used to be able to go into charity shops all the time and find football shirts constantly. Now I find nothing. Charity shops tend to keep the stock for themselves and start selling their own wares on like Depop and things. If you go into a charity shop now, even if you find a football shirt, it's likely going to be 20-25 quid anyway. So I think the resellers have also increased the supply and demand for this, and there's mystery shirt box companies everything all over the shop now. But yeah, football shirts are getting so popular. I'm happy that like something I'm interested in is getting popular, but it is making it harder to find good deals on things. But I think with every trend in the fashion world, there will always be a core that are into it, because I've been collecting football shirts before this boom happened, a lot of people, and I'll still be collecting football shirts when the fad or trend dies off, because it will eventually, and it'll move on to something else. I think it's just because it's fashionable at the moment to like football shirts and to wear football shirts, even if you're not into football at all. So many people are just wearing them casually now, but I think many people like you and me will be still wearing them when this trend has died off. It's just very interesting to me that this is a trend at the moment. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts? Let me know down in the comments what your guys' opinions are on this subject. I'll be very interested to hear. But yeah, thank you guys for watching the whole video and for supporting the channel. We're nearly on 1,000 subs, and I can't help thank you enough. But yeah, hope you enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. TGFN, peace out.